Looks like a nice day. I think I'll go to Brazil. Amazon River. That's exciting. Well, I was just about to set off and so it begins. Found myself this great camp spot last night. Bloody well stung me. Right there on the jaw. Looks like this bloke's trying to eat my glove. So, did the BR-319 live up to its fearsome reputation? Well, looks like a nice day. I think I'll go to Brazil. Okay, that's the Guyana side of things done. I've surrendered my import permit, got my passport stamped, and off I go. I always feel like a bit of a dickhead at border crossings, because there's always something that I haven't done. Like there's a form that I haven't done, or a stamp I haven't got, or there's some online thing I didn't do, and I honestly don't know. Like, I do a lot of reading and research, even though it doesn't sound like it, to find out what I actually need to do and what I don't. But you know, there's always something, and I don't know how other people know that you have to do it, because I could never, like, I just never know. Well, there's an otter down there in the river. Oh, how cool. Massive otter. Oh, Brazil's delivered on the wildlife already. So here's where it gets confusing. No, well, no one's stopping me. I'll just keep going and come back if I need to. It's my usual process. Oh, mate, you're supposed to stop back there and get a something stamp. Oh, okay. I guess I'll go back and get it. Well, true to form, I rode right past where I was supposed to get my passport stamped. So, turns out the temporary import permit bloke has stepped out for a while, so that's alright. I'll duck back here and hopefully he'll have come back by the time I return. So just interested to see if I rode past a big sign saying passport control, or whether it's one of those things you just need to sense. Yeah, no obvious signage at all to tell you that that's where you go for your stamp. Just near the door there's a small laminated thingy. Anyway, all done. So that's step one. Step two, import permit, and then I'll be right. I'm back. Well, it took a little while for old mate to turn up, but he was a very affable fella, and he's given me a import permit for 90 days to match my passport stamp and visa. So I thought that was very good of him. So I've got plenty of time, whichever way I decide to head through Brazil. I was yet to make up my mind as to whether I would spend about 12 days on boats to get me and the Tenere to Peru, or ride south via the BR-319, sometimes referred to as Brazil's worst highway. If I took the boat, I would end up in northern Peru, which would suit my onward explorations better, but it meant nearly 2 weeks heading slowly upriver.
Never get out of the boat. Absolutely goddamn right. Unless you were going all the way.
I liked the idea of riding the BR-319, but it would deliver me to southern Peru, meaning I'd have to ride the length of the country north to visit Ecuador, and then south through the entire country again to reach Bolivia and Chile. My plan was to gather a bit more information when I reached Manaus, a large port city built just above the junction of the Rio Negro and the Amazon River. How many degrees of latitude? 0. I'm at the equator. I've never crossed the equator by land before. That's not something you do every day. Unless you live over there, then you probably do. Good old Tenere got me here. Just a couple of paces from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere and back again. I wonder if I should repack the bike to allow for the Coriolis effect. Apart from crossing the equator and sitting out a thunderstorm in a bus shelter, it was an uneventful ride to Manaus. Waiting for a much-needed replacement air filter to arrive, I had plenty of time to figure out which way I would choose to get to Peru. I found a freight company that would truck the Tenere from Lima north to the border with Ecuador, so in the end I decided to take the infamous BR-319 rather than the boat. After a ferry trip from Manaus, the BR-319 travels about 890 kilometres, around half of which is unsealed, southwest to Porto Velho. Getting replacement Tenere parts for those damaged when the four-wheel drive hit me in Suriname was proving difficult. I wasn't surprised I couldn't find them in Suriname or Guyana, but thought it wouldn't be a problem in Brazil. Turns out it was. So Peru, where they do sell the Tenere, seemed like my next best bet. I got in touch with the main Yamaha dealer in Lima, but they told me it would take 3 months to get the parts I needed. Presumably they service the Teneres they sell out of their dealership, but they didn't stock basic service parts either. I was getting exasperated. They agreed to let me use their address to order the parts myself, as I was pretty sure I could get them there in less than 3 months. It's the first time I've ever had to supply my own parts to a mechanic. Good morning. Okay, just coming down to the ferry now to cross the Negro and Amazon rivers to leave Manaus, which I can't say I'm sorry about. I've had long enough here. Just had the passport check done there, ID and etc. Now, got to figure out what happens from here. My filter never turned up, so I did a bodgy clean on the one I had, so that'll just have to do. Okay, looks like the boat's there. I'm not really sure of the times. It seems to be on the hour, but they said it could be delayed, so maybe it's dependent on how many people turn up. At least it's under cover. It's not late, but it's 20 to 9 I think, and pretty toasty already. There's a clear line where the dark waters of the aptly named Rio Negro meet the milk coffee coloured Amazon. It's pretty cool to see. Amazon River. That's exciting. Keeping my eyes peeled for dolphins. I said they're not uncommon to be spotted from the ferry, so got my fingers crossed. Oh, look at those mangoes. Won't be too long before mango season's here. I'm going to make the most of it. Gee, it's good to be out of the city. I really enjoyed that ferry trip. That was great, about an hour. Very picturesque. A little refreshing shower. Well, this is the start of the BR-319, and as you can see, it's in pretty good nick. It's sealed. This is the road to Carrera, which is the last town before the sort of longish stint down to Humanta, I think the name of the town is. Humanta. When people talk about the BR-319 as a bit of a horror story, it's the wet weather that is the killer. So being the dry season now, I should be pretty right. There'll be little falls coming through, but hopefully I won't see too much rain. So my last fuel stop is Carrera for 400 and something k's, and I tend to get around between 21 and 25 kilometers per litre from the Tenere. So I figured out the worst case scenario is I get 21 k's per litre, which I've only ever done in heavy sand. But if I was to get that bad a return, then my 16 litres in here plus my 6 litres of fuel bladders will still get me through comfortably. I fueled up at Carrera, and well, I was just about to set off, and a little shower came through. So I'm glad the first 85 k's is tar before I hit the dirt. I'm really hoping this isn't falling on the dirt. So I've spent the best part of 2 weeks in Manaus trying to organise parts for the Tenere when I get to Peru, and trying to organise an air filter to get to me in Manaus. But and I don't reckon it rained more than a few drops and a few quick showers. And the day that I decide that I can't wait any longer for my filter to turn up, and I'm just going to go, and so it begins. Thankfully, the sky began to clear, and it looked like the track had missed most of the big downpour. Well, so far the B319's proved to be very nicely maintained. She's got a bit of lean on it, that barge. Yeah, I can imagine this section would be pretty iffy during the wet season. Found myself this great camp spot last night. Came in after dark, which isn't ideal, but managed to get myself right off the road, which isn't easy because the forest comes up to the road verge most of the way along the BR-319, so nice to find some space. I put up the tarp last night because it had been raining on and off all day and there was some lightning and thunder in the distance, but thankfully it didn't actually rain, but the tarp helps to keep the dew off. Trust the Tenere slept well. So at the moment just using a mozzie dome, and all I needed was a silk inner liner or sleeping bag liner for warmth, and I've also got a fleece liner there. If I need it I can just jump into that like a mini sleeping bag, but no, it's quite warm enough in just the silk liner, and yeah, quite a good night. This is probably one of the worst sections I've been on so far, and even it's not too bad. Just a few roughish patches. It looks as though it's been a while since they did a bit of work on this bit, but you know, all things considered, it's still a pretty nice piece of road. Well, it's not the prettiest spot for lunch, but it's actually really hard to find anywhere to pull off the road on the BR-319. It's basically the forest just comes up to the edge, and there's nowhere to stop except directly by the side of the road, and then you're just sucking in dust every time a car goes by. But anyway, this borrow pit will do. When I first got the Tenere, I ummed and ahed about getting a larger primary tank, fuel tank for it, like a safari tank or something, or getting a secondary tank that you put on the back there somewhere and rig all that up so you've got a little bit of extra range. But both of those options are really expensive, and that means you've got a lot of fuel space when you don't actually need it. So that means you've got a big fat tank on the front, or you've got more gear on the back, more clutter, more bits and pieces. And you know, I'm a simple bloke. I like to keep things pretty simple. So instead of going for a in inverted commas permanent larger capacity, I decided on these. So I've got no affiliation with Desert Fox at all, but I've got to say these fuel bladders have been great. So they pack down flat, they sit in here in my roll bag when I don't need them, and when I do, I bust them out, fill them up. They take 3 litres each, and just strap them on with these crappy hockey straps that I managed to get in Manaus. But yeah, they just sit there till I need them, and then when I've used them, filled up the main tank again, they just go flat and go back in there. So I've been wrapped with that, and it's they're pretty inexpensive for how much benefit you get from them, and they've really helped me out a couple of times. I haven't really needed them very often, but when you do need them, you need them. I'm not worried about a flash fire, I'm just keeping the sun off my face. So coming out the sort of southern end of the BR-319 now, and you can see the beginnings of cattle properties. Looks like they've only just recently cleared, fenced, and there's a few yards put in, and there's looks like a few homesteads have been built. So yeah, there's speculation, or there's promise, or there's hearsay, or there's something that they're going to seal this road eventually. It'll be a mammoth task, I mean, they're doing a pretty bang up job with just with maintaining the dirt. Like, it's pretty impressive, but to actually tar it would be something else. And there's obviously concern that if that happens, then it'll really open the country up, which, you know, isn't necessarily for the best environmentally, that is. Okay, oh, here's a fuel stop. Oh, that's good. At about 60 in reserve, so it's pretty comfortable. Hello. Thank you. I made it to a little town that may or may not be pronounced Realidade, southern end of the BR-319, and got myself a little hotel room, and I'm looking forward to a cold shower. I didn't know how long it was going to take to ride down the BR-319. From what I had read, it could be quite straightforward, or could be a few days. So I banked on averaging about 30 k's an hour, which is the kind of speed I was doing to get from Georgetown down to Brazil. And yeah, it turned out that I was a bit closer to averaging, I don't know, between 55 and 85, I guess, most of the way. The only time I slowed down was for all the little bridges, and sometimes for roadworks, or for a couple of big trucks that came through spewing dust everywhere. So yeah, so I took food for 3 days. I was expecting it to take 2 nights on the track, 3 days, and I've come down in 2. So did the BR-319 live up to its fearsome reputation? Well, not really. But am I disappointed? Absolutely not. I had a really enjoyable ride. I've ridden through the Amazon rainforest, so I've got no complaints. It was great, really good. And I'm sure it would have been a completely different story if it had been in the middle of the wet season and rain everywhere and churned up mud. There was a few sections where they were putting some clay pack down and put some water on it, and it was really skatey, so it was a bit of an indication of what it might be like after heavy rain. The BR-319 continues down to Porto Velho, another 290 kilometres, most of which is sealed. Not a very pretty spot, but I just wanted to get off the road and have some lunch. I didn't realise there were so many wasps. There's bloody... There's just tons of them. I was just minding my own business, and one of them came down and bloody well stung me. Right there on the jaw. Jeez, it bloody hurt too. Felt like I've been punched in the face. I just walked around the back of the building and checked this out. That is one enormous wasp nest. Looks like something out of From Dusk Till Dawn. Oh, geez, I'm getting out of here. Jeez. Oh, fuck yeah. Looks like this bloke's trying to eat my glove. Insect megafauna. Look at that, he literally ate the tag. I think it's time for me to leave. Fearing I would be stung to incapacitation by the wasps and then eaten by the grasshoppers, I took off for the last stint to Porto, Velho, where I planned to rest up for a couple of days. From there, I would head southwest to Peru. I had ordered a bunch of parts to replace the crash damage on the Tenere, and was hoping they would all arrive in Lima around the same time I did. I was really looking forward to putting the Suriname crash and all its related hassles behind me. Crossing into Peru, I would have my first experience of the Andes.